Hi, I'm certified life coach Dewan J of the High Vibrations Only platform. What you're about to watch is an open coaching session that was actually filmed on TikTok. I pray that the information in the video that you're about to watch will inform, inspire, and ignite you to become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so that you're abreast of all future content coming from me. I'll see you in there. Let's go. What I have today is too many of us walk around calling ourselves kings, queens. We calling ourselves alphas, and we calling ourselves bosses, and we're not acting like it. Oh, this is gonna get thick really fast. Okay, Smoke, what's happening? We're not acting like it. The reason that we're not acting like it is because we consistently engage in petty activity. We consistently allow other people's opinions of us to dictate the way that we're feeling. We constantly allow people's actions and words to control how it is that we're acting. And this is no way for a king or a boss or an alpha to behave. We walk around and we have this inheritance, right? We've discussed on this platform, Rowdy, we have discussed on this platform before how you're equipped and born with everything that you've ever needed to be a success, to be at peace, to be successful, to do the things that it is that you need to do in this life and in this world, to live this life the way that you want to live this life. Yet we find ourselves in a toxic cycle because instead of embracing the very things that we're trying to project to the public, we allow other people to dictate the way that we're acting. It's here that I have to caution you that the things that are meant to build you, the things that are meant to nourish you, the things that are meant to refine you in the fire, the things that are meant to add pressure, to turn you into the diamond that you're meant to be, these things are not to be toyed with. The lesson is to be learned, and you're supposed to evict this thing from your life and do it quickly. In fact, I'm not going to be the person to teach you this lesson today. How many people in the chat do we have born? Lexi, how many people in the chat, Goddess of Love, what's happening? How many people in the chat do we have that were born 1992 or later? 1992 or later. And there's a reason that I'm asking this question. It's because the person or the thing that I'd like to use to teach this lesson today, Smiles, what's happening? Tadipoo is in the building. The thing that I'd like to use to teach this lesson is Simba. Now, some of us may know Simba. Simba, the Lion King. Simba, La Muñeca is in the building. Simba, we know Simba, son of Mufasa, king of Pride Rock. I'd like to use Simba to teach this lesson. Why? Because Simba is a prime example of a king that played with his food. Now, there are several life lessons to be taken from the Lion King. There are several lessons that we could borrow from in the Lion King, right? Y'all remember the whole circle of life, holding the rock up. Whatever they're saying. Right. And life happens to us this way. What tends to happen in life is that we get to a certain point in which we're lifted up. Right. We get to a certain point in which we're lifted up and we can see everything that we're supposed to subdue, rule, and have dominion over. Yet when our feet get to the fire, when we run into a little opposition, when things get tough and we have to fight, right? We run. And it's at that point that we are disrobing ourselves. Put this at a point. The only person that can push you away from purpose is the person in the mirror. The only person that can push you away from purpose is the person in the mirror. And it's important. It's important that we get here because Simba, he was to inherit Pride Rock. He took on some hyenas at a young age. He went into places that he wasn't supposed to go. He and his future wife, his betrothed Nala, right? They were adventurous. They were spontaneous. They were live life on the edge. And Simba is like, ha 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 ha! I laugh in the face of danger. It's amazing how Simba learned fear. It's amazing how Simba learned guilt. It's amazing how Simba disqualified himself from the throne. It wasn't that Scar had ever beat him in a fight. It wasn't that Mufasa's ghost was haunting him from beyond the grave. It was the fact that Simba disqualified himself. And where did he go? He ran through nature. He ran away from Pride Rock into the wildlands. And while he was supposed to be reigning, while people that were connected to him suffered, while people that were depending on him were suffering, while people that were looking to him to rule and continue the prosperity that his father had bought, he was running through nature singing Hakuna Matata. And it's here that the songwriter tells us that the phrase Hakuna Matata means no worries. Well, some of us, some of us are, quite frankly, aren't built to have no worries. Some of us have children. Some of us are caretakers of elderly parents. Some of us have high-end jobs that require us to be focused. And we can't afford to live life with no worries. In fact, living life with no worries whatsoever, no stress whatsoever, is disassociation. Here, we have to get into the fact that while Simba was growing, did anybody else pay attention to what was happening during the Lion King? As they're crossing the logs and they're looking under the logs and they're eating bugs and all of this kind of stuff, Simba was growing. What we fail to realize that it was a span of about 4 years before Simba returned. And notice how the fight didn't go anywhere. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, Simba left for 4 years, and during this time he was he was eating below his privilege. He was partaking in the life that he thought was the least path of resistance. Sky, what's happening? He was living life with carefree, but notice what happened. Notice how the problem didn't go anywhere. Notice how the thing that he tried to run away from was waiting for him. Notice how when he went back, he still had a fight on his hands. Notice how the people that he was responsible for by birth were suffering as a result of his absence. Now, I hear you. You might be saying, yo, D, this ain't got nothing to do with me, okay? Simba is a lion. He's a cartoon character. Come on, D, grow up. Put the Fruity Pebbles away, okay? No, because we live life this way. But it's actually worse for us because we're around these people every day. We are looking these people in the eye every day. We are physically present, but mentally absent. We are physically present, but emotionally absent. We go through the motions of being in a relationship, little kisses on the mouth here and there, little hugs here and there. We hold hands and we put our wedding rings on to show off for public. But emotionally and mentally, we're already checked out of the relationship. I still come and I enjoy your lives and I throw little fake laughing emojis in the comments to make it appear as though things are good, but mentally and emotionally I am checked out. I may pick up the phone and call you for a happy hour, right? I may call you for a happy hour or so. Or we may go out and we may turn up in the boxes for a gift party or something like that. But the truth of the matter is, I am absent. Lucky said he needed time to grow into an adult lion to be able to handle the fight waiting for him. But did he really? Did he really? He did nothing to hone his fighting skills in the wild. He did nothing to strengthen himself while in the wild. The truth of the matter is, Simba ran away from his problems, and this is the problem that we have a lot of times in life. We'll leave, but our mind is still there. We'll leave, and what happened to Mama? What happened to Nala? What happened to the girl that got away? Exactly, Sky. He always had the fight in him. He just prolonged the fight for 4 years. And here's where we run into the toxicity in life. Here's where we get into a lot of trouble. It's because we think that putting it under a rug, or we think that putting it off to another day. We think that putting the fight off to another day is actually beneficial to us, but in actuality, it causes some anxiety. In actuality, it causes fear of the comfort zone. It restricts your movement more than it frees you. Let's be clear here. Had Simba walked in his birthright, had Simba stayed and fought the fight, had Simba stayed and became groomed the way that he should have been, not only would he have had access and rule and dominion over the Pride Lands, over the elephant graveyard, but he would have had access to where he went anyway. A lot of people cut off their own access. A lot of people cut off their own destiny, their own purpose, and where it is that they should be positioned in life because they disassociate from the fight that they need to have. It was 4 years. They thought he was dead. They had written him off. And his mom suffered. His future wife suffered. Had Nala not gone to look for help, she would have never bumped into Simba. And as a result, the line of Mufasa would have died with him in the trampede. He would have ended his generation, ended his bloodline. Here's what happens. Pride Rock took on the mental and the emotional state of the king. Everything, put this in a point, everything that is connected, Lucky said he would have been raised by Scar. That's not true. In nature, what happens is when the alpha male dies, the person that's alive doesn't take over. The females run the pack until another alpha, and there has to be a fight. Nature has to decide. I knew that this was going to come up, so I had to look it up ahead of time. So while he was gone, he was hanging out, being friends with the very thing that he supposed to be ruling. And this happens to us with our problems. I can't get rid of and rule and control my depression, so I hang out with it. I can't control my anxiety, so I befriend it. I can't control my anger, so I turn it into a social construct in which I can use it to my benefit. I can't emotionally regulate to have the right control. I can't emotionally regulate to have control, so I embrace instead of correct. I embrace instead of correct. And now the people that are dependent on me, the people of Pride, or the Lions of Pride Rock, right? They take on and are subjected to the emotional and the mental state of the person that's leading them. What does your family look like? What does your friend circle look like? What we're dealing with here is a mismanagement of purpose, a mismanagement of peace, a mismanagement of prosperity. We are dealing with someone that was emotionally not equipped to handle their own problems. Now, some might argue, well, he found himself when he was out in nature. No, he didn't. Some might argue he needed to become bigger and Lucky, you can disagree all you want to, but nature is nature and science is science. Some would argue that he had to go and learn himself. But what was it that he was told? What was it that he was told? When right before he went back, when he had this debate, this weight of the world on his shoulders, and he decided he could have stayed where he was, or he could have went back for his people. What was it that he was told? It wasn't discover who you are. It was remember who you are. Sky says, I think he needed Rafiki to help guide him. Rafiki was in the Pride Lands. He left with Simba. Rafiki was always there. And that's the bar that I want to park on right there for a second, right? Everything that we've ever needed, all of the fight that we've ever needed to defeat anything is already in us. And for those of us that are Christians, God is always there. The voice of wisdom is always there. For those of us that are spiritual, the universe is always talking. Karma, chakras, intuition, whatever buzzwords you want to throw out there at this point in time. It's everything that he needed to be king was already there from a young kid, right? We made a meme about it, but we didn't catch the bar. We made it. This right here is Pride Land. Everything the light touches belongs to you. Mufasa was pouring into him. Rafiki was there to guide him. The lionesses would have protected him. It's a strange feeling. Fellas, let me talk to you for a second. It's a strange feeling, fellas, when we want to puff our chests out and we want to claim king and claim that we want submissive women. But much like Simba, when you're not in alignment with what it is that you're supposed to do, the lionesses have to protect themselves because you're not there to do it. Okay. There was like 5 dudes that scrolled on the FYP right now. They weren't there to do it. And it's amazing the loving nature of women. How it's amazing the loving nature of women, how they would have nourished and protected Simba. Nature tells us this is what happens. Right? It's amazing how when Simba returned and he actually decided to fight, that peace came back over the land. Why? Because he gave the people something to believe in. But it was his all to begin with. Let's talk about why he ran. Let's talk about why he ran. He ran because of guilt. Scar didn't force Simba away from anything. He played on his emotions. And here's why it's very important to remain emotionally intelligent, because if we're not sure of who we are, then that causes us to take too much accountability. That causes us to take too much responsibility. That causes us to walk around feeling guilty about things that we had nothing to do with. That causes us to walk around feeling bad about decisions that we made with the knowledge that we had in the moment. That causes us to run from problems. That causes us to lose fight and lose the ability to fight. Debo, what's happening? That causes us to lose the willingness and the willpower to fight. Scar used guilt. And Simba not recognizing the attack. Simba not recognizing what the trigger was going to be. Simba remembering Mufasa told him not to go where he was. Simba not taking a step back to gather the facts about what happened. And it's here that I have to caution you. Anytime there's conflict, anytime there's a butting of heads, anytime there's discord within any of your relationships, it does not matter the dynamic. Anytime that there's a head bumping, anytime there's a tough conversation that needs to take place, people need to take a step back and investigate what happened factually. Don't come to me and tell me that you're a mature adult and you don't have emotional regulation. Don't tell me that you're a mature adult and you can't take accountability. Don't tell me that you are a mature adult when you go into a situation wanting to prove that you're right more so than coming to a resolution with anybody. You're playing with your food. Because this was supposed to mold him. This was supposed to give him resilience. This was supposed to call him to where it was that he was supposed to be. This was supposed to provide a level of seriousness to life and give him a greater appreciation for life. It's amazing how grief will do that to people. And we grieve all the time. Nobody can rush your grieving process, right? And grief is a part of life. Loss is a part of life. But we have to agree with ourselves to go through the process and not run from it. When we run from grief, we never take steps back towards healing. When we run from grief, it just lingers there until we actually deal with the issue. When we run from grief, it creates a fear and an anxiety. It makes it difficult to allow anybody close to us. It makes it difficult for us to trust. It makes it difficult to do the things that are necessary for us to be decent human beings to those around us. And this is not just as a result of death. This is a result of betrayal. This is the result of being heartbroken. This is the result of you finding the one and them not being the one. This is a result of not being believed in. This is a result of not being poured into. All of these actions cause grief on a different level. And it's important that we run into it and face it and actually deal and heal with it so that it cannot be weaponized against us later. So that it can't be used as a tool to hold us down later. So that it can't be used as a reason or as a crutch later. The second reason that Simba ran was fear. He was afraid of Scar. He was afraid of what was going to happen. He was afraid of change. On Saturday, we are going to kick off a series entitled Trust the Transition, where we're going to walk through different areas of life. And I'm going to show you why it is that the transition is actually where you want to be, because it's here that you're learning. It's here that you're growing. It's here that you're becoming stronger. It's here that you're becoming tougher. So we have to trust the transition and not run away from it. But out of fear, Simba ran because it was easier for him. Because he wasn't ready for the responsibility of the purpose over his life. He wasn't ready for the call over his life. Kenda, what's up? Welcome in. He wasn't prepared to run Pride Rock. And he didn't trust the people around him that were put in place to advise him correctly. As a result of this, he ran. When purpose knocks, when vision knocks, when destiny knocks, when happiness or an opportunity at peace knocks at your front door, it's important, it's crucial, it's critical that you answer the door. Will there be something required of you? Absolutely. Should you be afraid of it? Absolutely not. And I hear you. It's easy for me to sit in this position and say this to you. I get it. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about how fear paralyzes more purpose. Fear kills more peace. Fear is the source of all nightmares and not dreams. Fear is the source of us living a mediocre lifestyle. Fear is what's stopping us from finding the dream relationship. Fear is what's preventing us from asking the question. There has to come a point in time where you're going to respond to it. And I talked about this, I think, on Saturday when I gave you the definition of courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in spite of fear. In other words, I know that you're afraid. I know that you're scared. I know that this is causing a little bit of anxiety because there's the unknown and what are the consequences and what's going to be the fallout. I understand that you are afraid, but in order to have courage, in order to consider yourself brave, in order to remain flexible, in order to do the things that are necessary for you to do in this life, for those things that you're responsible for those people that are looking to you, for those people that you're responsible for, it takes courage. How do we get it? Well, I'm glad that you asked. We begin by taking small steps. We begin by putting ourselves in awkward situations. Go out to a nice restaurant in town by yourself. Go doll yourself all up. Put the black dress on with the red bottoms. Grab your fanciest bag and go out and just sit by yourself. Enjoy. Will you have good food? Yep. Will you enjoy a night outside of your house and outside of the sweatpants eating the Bluebell ice cream? Yep. Will you die though? No. Start by something small. And then over time, you gradually increase the size of the adventure that you take. And this is going to train your brain to be able to keep track of your wins. Like, hey, the last time it turned out okay and I had some fun. The last time turned out good and I learned something about myself. The last time me fearing the worst did not happen. So I can go try something else. And this is going to embolden you. And this is going to give you confidence. And this is going to give you courage. The next reason Simba ran was denial. A lot of us didn't catch this bar. Every kiss begins with K. What's up, love? Welcome in. The next reason that Simba ran was denial. He thought that if he ran far enough away from the problem, that he didn't have to face it. He thought that the memories of his past life were just going to go away. He thought that the problem wouldn't eventually come to haunt him. He thought that that if he just ran away from what it was, that he could forget about the responsibility that's on his shoulders. But let me explain something to you today, right here, right now. Running away does not obfuscate responsibility. Put that in a point. Running does not release you from responsibility. Why am I saying this? Because a lot of people, we're just going to move on. A lot of people are, I'm not even going to think about this right now. Well, when? A lot of us don't recognize that the fact that we are running away, because life happens in a cycle. So really running from a problem is not too far from chasing another one. That's a bar. Running from one problem is not too far from chasing another one. And because life happens in a cycle, and because we think that we can just run, and we can sing Hakuna Matata, and we can go out and eat the things that we're not supposed to eat. And we're supposed to hang out with people that we're supposed to have dominion over. We can hang out with people that are lowering our value, people that can't teach. The problem with Timon and Pumbaa, is that they can't teach Simba how to be a lion. They can't teach Simba how to reign. See, in this dynamic, in the Lion King dynamic, Timon would have been prey, right? A vegetarian, right? An herbivore. Pumbaa would have been prey, would have had prey, but he also would have been prey. It's critical. It is crucial for your future that you hang around people that can elevate you to the level that you're supposed to be in. There was nothing that Timon and Pumbaa could have done to teach Simba how to be a lion. There was nothing they could have done to teach him how to be a king. There's nothing they could have taught him in terms of taking responsibility and having dominion over something. And as a result, they just ran. They live life that way. It's a very dangerous place in life. So you're in a very dangerous place in life when you live life that's below your privilege by choice. You're at a very dangerous place in life when you are living below your privilege by choice. I opened this conversation by telling you that the only person that can push you from purpose is the person staring back at you in the mirror. And what happened? What happened was Simba linked himself to people that weren't on the upper end of the food chain. Let's go with the Hartleys. That weren't on the upper end of the food chain. And as a result of that, he took a poverty mindset. He took a bottom feeder's mentality. And really, you're dope. Let's go with the bear. Really, look at how Simba lived his life when he was out in the wilderness. And here's something that I bet that a lot of people didn't catch. Timon and Pumbaa weren't really Simba's friends. Oh. A lot of us are in toxic friendships in which we're being used and we don't realize that we're being used because we're running from something. It's about to get tight in here right now. Okay, so a lot of us are in friendships and relationships and we're being used. Do y'all remember the first scene where they were all introduced to one another? Timon and Pumbaa ran from Simba. They hid behind something and Simba just wanted to play. Simba thought it was a game, right? So Timon then said to Pumbaa, hey, aren't you tired of running? If this guy wants to be our friend, let's just keep him around to protect us from the other lions. They were using him the entire time. They were using him and then they taught him a lackadaisical mindset. They were using him and didn't tell him that he was supposed to fight. They were using him for protection. They were using his image. They were using the representative. They were using the mask that he put on. They were using the shell of him and didn't tell him that he was equipped to be a king. They didn't tell him that he was equipped to subdue, rule, and have dominion over them. They were using him for his protection and what they could do for him. And in return, they reciprocated no worries. In return, they reciprocated laziness. In return, they reciprocated forgetting responsibilities. In return, they poured back into him fear. Be careful who you are linked to. Be careful who you are linked to. There are people that are supposed to come into your life that are supposed to offer you resources, that are supposed to offer you a little wisdom, that are supposed to offer you some accountability. But if the people that you're linked to are not reciprocating to you with that, can they really say that they love you? They love you when you come in the boxes and you're making people laugh. They love you when it's happy hour and drinks are on you. They love it when it's time to turn up and somebody says something wrong. They love you when you're preventing them from making bad decisions. They love you as long as you're not walking in purpose. But the minute that you start to change and walk in purpose and walk in destiny, you're acting funny and you think that you're better than them. They start to pull at these emotional heartstrings. They start to remind you of things that they've done for you. They start to remind you that you wouldn't be in the position that you're in if you weren't for them. They start to remind you of who you want to be, not who you were called to be. They start to remind you how good life is without responsibility. They start to remind you what it looks like to not have to worry about anything. That is not the way that you were supposed to live. It's not. Children, responsibility. Marriage, responsibility. Job, responsibility. Place to live, responsibility. Car, responsibility. You have to be careful who you are linked to and what it is that they're pouring back into you. Stop playing with your food. When you start to befriend and become intimate, and I'm not just talking about sex. When you start to befriend and become intimate with things that you're supposed to learn from and release, or with things that are supposed to add nourishment to you and build you up into the person that it is that you're supposed to be. When you start to befriend and become and build bonds and connections with things and people and situations that are supposed to teach you a lesson, and not supposed to be a lifetime mate. And you start to confuse mate and mission. What you find yourself doing is walking beneath your purpose, because Simba was younger than Scar. Simba was faster than Scar. Simba was by appearance was stronger than Scar. He was smarter than Scar. Yet he still had doubt because he was hanging out with people that were below his privilege. He was hanging out with people that weren't built to equip him. He was built with people that allowed him to downplay himself and dim his light. Don't consider yourself a friend to me if you don't hold me accountable when I'm dimming my own light. Don't consider yourself a friend to me if I'm going through a life crisis and instead of reminding me who I am, you start to mold my emotions into what you want them to be. Uh-oh. This is why we find ourselves in decades-long dead marriages. This is why we've never pushed the envelope in terms of where we're going to work and climbing the corporate ladder. This is why we look at somebody next to us laying in bed and we hate that person. We start to resent that person. We start to hold contempt for that person. We start to look at that person with resentment because this person is what's standing between you and your dream. But ask yourself, is it because this person is actually malicious, or are they just getting away with what you allowed them to get away with? Am I playing with my food? Let's define our terms. The definition of food, okay, the definition of food is any nutritious substance that people or animals eat or drink or plants absorb in order to maintain life or growth. Any nutritious substance that people or animals eat or drink that plants absorb in order to maintain life or growth. Tiffy, what's happening? By definition, food is nothing to play with. I'm supposed to absorb it and I'm supposed to grow from it. I'm supposed to live from it. Now, what happens when we start to play with our food? Think back when you were a kid and you didn't want what your parents had made. You knew that you couldn't tell them that the food was nasty or that you didn't want it or that you were full. You couldn't tell them that. So what you would do, you'd pick up the vegetable, you'd move it around your plate, act like you're dipping it in some ketchup or something, some sauce, and you put it back down. You take your fork and you start to make a pile with the broccoli. Right? No worries, Tiffy. Thank you for pulling up. Right? We start to play with it. We don't really want it. We don't really want to absorb it. We do this with life lessons. We do this with disappointment. We do this with anger. We do this with grief. We do this with pain. We do this with trauma. Right? The healthiest way to deal with these things is to absorb it. Right? The healthiest way is to absorb it. Sit with your feelings for a time period and start to begin to strategize on how to walk away from these things. Right? Because it's food. It's food. You were at the top of the food chain. You were created, again, to rule, subdue, and dominate everything on this planet. As a result of that, you're at the top of the food chain. So everything that happens in your life does not happen to you. It happens for you. It is meant to build you up. It is meant to teach you a lesson. It is meant to teach the resilience. It is meant to build character. It is meant to test integrity. It is meant to test faith. It is meant for you to build yourself to become the best version of yourself. Why are you playing with your food? Let's look at the word play. The word play means to engage in activity for enjoyment, recreation, rather than a serious or a practical purpose. Engage in an activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or a practical purpose. This sounds familiar. This sounds like my booty call. This sounds like my Netflix and chill partner. This sounds like spinning the block on an ex. This sounds like me playing victim rather than victor. This sounds like me not taking accountability and apologizing to people that I've hurt. This sounds like me obfuscating responsibility. This sounds like relieving myself of all responsibility. This sounds like me putting my trauma in a closet. This sounds like me using my pain as a crutch and not actually eating it. Engaging in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or a practical purpose. I'm angry and I don't know how to regulate my emotions, so I hit my children. I'm angry and I don't know how to regulate my emotions, so I mentally and emotionally abuse my wife. I'm angry and I don't know how to regulate my emotions, so anybody who says anything wrong to me can get hands or they can get cussed out. But what happens when I'm not mad anymore? What happens when I'm not triggered anymore? Because I didn't regulate this, I didn't give myself any vision. I didn't give myself any foresight. I didn't give myself any thought past what it is that I'm going through, because I don't really take my purpose serious. I don't really remember my why. I've been so hurt, I don't have a why anymore. I've been so traumatized that I can't find my purpose anymore. I've been so codependent that I've given literally over half of myself to this person. So when they walk away, I don't know what I enjoy anymore. I don't know what I find funny. I don't know why I'm so angry. I don't know why I don't know why I gotta curse everybody out. I don't know why I use sarcasm to deflect from how I'm really feeling. I don't know why I lash out and I call it to being brutally honest. I don't know why I have a reputation to swing first and ask questions later. I don't know why people call me to wild out because I'm using chemicals to disassociate from what I'm going through. I don't know why. The reason why is because I didn't take my purpose seriously. I play with the very things that are meant to edify. The truth of the matter is that because I play with my food, I play with what it was that's supposed to build me. I don't really want to do the work. I don't want to get up and get active 45 minutes a day. So I'm just going to sit around and allow people to make jokes about me being overweight, and I'm just going to play into the joke and even beat them to the punchline. I don't want to read 17 to 20 books a year, so I'm just going to talk like I don't have any education, and I'm going to beat people to the punchline talking about how smart I'm not. I don't want to get familiar with this job because truthfully, I don't believe that this job is my purpose. So I'm not going to get familiar with the systems that I'm called to operate. So I can't move up because I don't even know anything about step one. I don't want to work at repairing my relationship. I don't want to work at repairing my relationship. So as a result, I just duck my feelings off in a closet and I shut down anytime accountabilities come in my way. Vision. What's happening? I don't want the weight. So instead of using these situations and using these things and using these life lessons, even though they might be painful, instead of using them to edify me, I do what that kid does with the broccoli and I just kind of push it around the plate. Stop playing with your food. Trent, what's happening? Welcome in. There's when it comes down to it, right? There's a balanced diet. There's a balanced diet, and this is after, if we're following the timeline of Simba, this is after Rafiki has told Simba to look in the water, and he hit him upside the head with the stick, and then he swung at him again. But it was at that moment that Simba learned the lesson. It was at that moment to realize that life hurts. And sometimes things are unexpected, but I got to keep my head on the swivel. That was a life lesson. That was a bar. Rafiki was preaching the gospel of Pride Rock. He swung it and he told him, he looked in the water. He said, hey, remember who you are. And he looked down and Simba immediately thought that he was looking at a vision of his father. But then he remembered that he was looking at a vision of his father. He was looking at a vision of a man. He was looking at a vision of a woman, of an alpha, of a king, of a queen, somebody who didn't run from responsibility, somebody who embraced the responsibility, somebody who reigned with wisdom, somebody who took and embraced it. And as a result, everything that was connected to Pride Rock flourished because it adopted the mindset of, we talk about generational curses and wanting to break them, but we're running from problems. We talk about the line stops here, but we're running from problems. We talk about stopping cycles of abuse, but we're running from the confrontation. We're talking about breaking cycles of financial dependency on the government, but If they release another stimulus, I'm all about it. We talk about being the first to not go to prison, but we're trying hard to get there. We talk about being the first woman in a place to graduate from college, but I work at a gentleman's club to pay my tuition. We talk about feeling voids with wisdom and knowledge and spirituality and things of this nature, but instead I let Tyrone fill me every Friday night when he's, hey, babe, what you doing? Nothing, chilling. Stop playing with your food. This man hurt you. You came to the conclusion a year ago that he wasn't interested in anything in your mind and in your heart. Oh, I'm talking to somebody right now. I felt that. We stop playing with the things that are meant to be your nutrition. Stop playing with the things that are meant and created to edify you. And then you want to come on here. You want to come on here and cap. You want to come on here and post the highlights of your life. You want to post when you're out to dinner. But truth of the matter is you're with somebody else's man, so you can only post a hand. You want to post, I got flown out. You got flown out, full stomach, full mind, empty heart, but a full body. Canada's greatest export is in the chat. What's happening? Asian kind, what's happening? It is amazing. It is amazing how we here's the thing. And I said this morning, right? When we pray, when we fast, when we attempt to assume, attract, manifest, right? We're asking for open doors. We're asking for opportunity. We're asking for an upgrade, but what you're actually asking for is another obstacle. You're actually asking for another obstacle because this is how you lock it in, right? I talked about, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, I did a live. I talked about being faithful, and then finalizing, right? So this is what happens. If you're found faithful towards your purpose, right? And you're walking and you're working every day. I know that I'm supposed to be writing a book right now. So every day I'm going to write 2 paragraphs. I know that I'm supposed to start a podcast, so every paycheck I'm gonna get the microphone this check. I'm gonna get the switchboard this check. I'm gonna get the light this check. I'm gonna start the YouTube channel because it's free. I'm gonna start the LLC. I'm gonna hire somebody to do my logos. And your bits and pieces, you're being faithful towards that purpose. Okay. The second thing that has to happen, you have to be faithful. In other words, you have to believe. And here's where a lot of us get in trouble. Faith in something starts, it begins when that thing stops making sense. Okay. There was no reason that a chunky kid from Boston could end up where I am today. There's no reason to believe that I'm not a statistic. There's no reason to believe that I'm not successful at being a father. There's no reason to believe where I can put out books that are being broken down in colleges as we speak. There's no reason why I can't, or why I'm supposed to have albums of poetry on music. There's no reason why I have writing credits to songs that you have sung. There's no reason that any of this should be possible. But faith begins where it stops making sense. A lot of us play with our food until we can start to see a dent. A lot of us play with our food and what it is that we're supposed to be doing. A lot of us like to just mull around and not eat. But we play around with it. The opportunity's there. The lessons are there. The work ethic is there. The willingness is there. But the only thing that's missing is us actually finalizing. Take a bite and stop playing with your food. Okay, a balanced diet. There's 7 things in a balanced diet. There's carbs, there are fats, fibers, vitamins, minerals, water, and proteins. Okay, carbs, proteins, fats, fibers, vitamins, minerals, and water. Okay, let's talk about it. The carbs in your diet are supposed to give you energy. See, a lot of us we'll do these fad diets and these crash diets, thinking that we're going to get our beach body right, but we don't have enough energy to enjoy it because we took the carbs out. right? When Simba was out there in the wild, he was getting plenty of protein by eating the bugs, but he wasn't getting any carbs. In other words, he didn't have the energy. It literally just fed his laziness. Oh my God. It literally fed his laziness because he was linked to the very thing that he was supposed to use to build himself. He was linked to his food. So because he was out there and he was flipping over logs and being a bottom feeder and living life below his privilege, he didn't have the energy to even fight. It wasn't until he was on the way back to Pride Rock and the hyenas tried to fight him that he took a bite out of one of them, and all of a sudden he had some protein, and now he has some get up and go. What I'm telling you to do is that now everything doesn't have to be high energy, right? Those that know me know that. Like I wake up on like 12. I wake up on 12. I'm not trying to get you at this level, right? Like I'm weird. I love it though, right? But what I am trying to get you to understand is that there has to be balance. There has to be balance in life. And if you're playing with the very thing that you're supposed to be eating, if you're playing with the thing that's supposed to nourish you, then something goes missing. Something goes lacking because every one of these 7 things plays a huge factor in another area of your body. Carbs, in addition to building muscle, putting on some weight, it also gives you energy. Here's what allows your muscles to function at peak performance. Here's what allows you to fight. Here's what allows you to soar on the backs of an eagle. Here's what allows you to not grow weary in well doing. The next thing that's in the diet are your proteins. Now, your proteins build and repair muscles and bones. You have to put the protein in your diet for the bruises that you're going to take. You have to put the protein in your diet from. Listen, I've texted Jimmy like 6 times and he ghosted me. I thought that we were going to be something. I even wore my special lingerie that night. Here's where I've been texting Roxanne. She ghosted me. Oh man, I just saw a post with her and this dude. Our ego takes the hit. Our mental health takes a hit. So we have to ensure that we're taking mental and emotional protein to repair the muscle and the bone. Because if we don't do it and it heals improperly, we're going to lose proper function of that limb. Coach, what's happening? We're going to lose proper function of that limb. But if we are continuing to play with our food, we're going to miss the nutrients that are necessary. We're going to miss the nutrients that are necessary. And while we're going through life malnourished, the people that are connected to us are also malnourished. My mama and them was depending on me to be something great because I'm a direct reflection of how they raised me. My husband, my wife, they're depending on me to be something great because I told them that I could lead them. I told them that if they just believed in me, that I could get somewhere. And now because I'm not taking the proper nutrients, because I'm not taking care of myself, because I don't have balance, because I ran from the problem, because I hang out with things and people that encourage me to live below my privilege, because I'm not in the position that I'm supposed to be, my future wife, my fiance, my kids, my legacy is in jeopardy as a result of me living below my privilege. Stop playing. Okay. The next thing, fat, right? The next thing is fats. Okay, fats have to be in your diet because your fats actually help you with cell function. Okay, your cell function, right? So when you get a nick or a cut, right, your skin can heal because the white blood cells go there, but your fats in your diet actually help with this. So it's important that we have a healthy level of fats in our diet. Now, a lot of people think that this is bad. Amazonia, what's happening, love? A lot of people think that this is bad. A lot of people don't realize that it takes a little bit of everything, even what society says is bad. Even what society says, stay away from that. Even what society says, are you crazy? Even when society is asking, why would you even? Even when society is saying, if I was you, I wouldn't, but you're not me. And I need balance. Fat has a negative connotation in society, but I'm here to tell you that it's necessary. Even though I'm talking about Even though I'm talking about being on purpose and with vision and happiness and peace and all of these things, the play aspect and the rest aspect are 100% necessary. Because the fat is what helps repair the cells. So when your muscles break down, it's the fat that helps send the cells there that's going to repair these things. The next thing, fiber. Fiber in your diet. Now, fiber, we all know that's gut health right there. Let me ask you, how are you getting rid of the wasteful things in your life? Do we not take enough fiber in? Do we not take enough focus? Do we not take in enough regard for our future? Do we not take in enough where I can have this conversation and saying, hey, you're not equipped to come with me at this part of my journey? Or you're not the person that I thought that you were. You don't represent the thing that I thought that you represented. And as a result, you're toxic to my future. I won't be picking up the phone for you anymore. I won't be coming to these family gatherings anymore because I get belittled every time that I come here. I won't be hanging out with the girls anymore just so I can be the butt end of your jokes when I leave. I won't be silent in the workplace when I get objectified because I work in a men's environment. I'm tired of talking about the abortion that I had. I'm tired of talking about the miscarriage that I had. I'm tired of you asking me when I'm going to get married and give you some grandbabies. I'm sick of getting the backhanded compliments about my little business and my little book and my little tour. I'm sick of only being the person that you call when I'm in trouble, but you don't call and check on how my day was. But the minute that Jimmy cheats on you again, you're calling me. I'm sick of being the dude that you call when your wife puts you on the couch because you disrespected her, and you probably should have handled her with some grace, some empathy, and compassion. You know, the very thing that you're asking me for. How are you getting rid of the waste in your life? Have you done that value stream analysis in which you look at the dynamics of all your relationships and situations and being like, this is waste. I'm out of here, 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 gone. When I'm building myself up, and I want to build myself up with the right things. I want to have solid foundation. I want to make sure that this house that I'm building is on stir. I want to make sure that what I'm consuming is going to allow me to perform and think and feel at peak performance. And as a result of that, I have to ensure that there's fiber in my diet and stop playing with my food. The next thing that it contains is vitamins. Vitamins are good for healing. Healing and energy. Put this in a point. Vitamins are vital. Vitamins are vital because it's here that I can heal my mind, right? Psychologists have said spending time out in the sun and the vitamin D hitting your skin it can release serotonin in your body. It's a calming effect. This is why they recommend taking a walk in nature. This is why they say, hey, go to the beach. This is why they say, hey, go walk in the forest, because the vitamin D releases the serotonin. It gives a calming effect. It allows you to calm down and then come back and deal with situations that would otherwise stress you out. Vitamins are vital. But when we're talking vitamins, I want to talk about the situations and the people. They're vital. We have to be more situationally selective so that we don't end up hanging out with people that are below our purpose level or below our vision level. This doesn't say that you're better than them as a person, but it says that your purpose is more so in your view than being validated. My vision is more valuable than your validation. And we have to be able to stand on that. Otherwise, we live below our privilege and everybody connected to us suffers. Minerals. Your minerals are good for your nervous system, your nerves, and it balances out the things that are going through like inside of your body. Your central nervous system is what runs through all aspects of you. I already got the glasses on, so I feel no qualms about nerding out today. Okay. Your minerals are about your nerves and your balance. Okay. So your nerves run to every ligament in your body. When I had surgery on my knee, right, I still don't have feeling on the right side of my knee because they had to burn the nerves. So without the minerals, without them nourishing the nerves, then it literally makes it difficult or almost impossible to feel. And it's here that I have to say that we are going through life the wrong way, right? There should be a balance. There should be a balance between your heart and your head. But if you are not taking the necessary vitamins, if you're not taking the necessary minerals, then you're not feeling anything. When you are analyzing a situation, when you are analyzing a way to be in your life, right, you should sense the situation. You hear a lot of coaches, you hear a lot of motivational speakers talking about being in the moment and living in the moment. Well, here's how you do that, right? I'll give away the sauce. I don't really care about the momentary sales. I don't care about the book sales. I don't care about anything. Here's how you live in the moment. You take notes. You take careful note on what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're tasting, what you're touching. This is being fully engulfed in the moment. Right. And if let me prove it. Let me prove it. There's somebody out there that doesn't believe me. Let me prove it. When if you go to a restaurant, right, the restaurant could have the business when it comes to food. Right. OK, let's not even a restaurant. Let's look at Popeyes. Listen, let me explain something to you right now. I hate Popeyes. I hate Popeyes. But it has nothing to do with the food. Right. The biscuits, they're a little dry. They're a little dry. But they're good. The chicken, on point. Chicken sandwich, fire. Fries, fire. Red beans and rice, fire. I love Popeye's food, but because the po' boy machine never seems to work. Because every time I go through the drive-through, I always seem to get an attitude. Because if I order it via DoorDash, they always seem to forget something. There's no care taken. So as a customer of Popeyes, I have several bad experiences. And as a result, as I'm selecting what I'm going to DoorDash or where I'm going to eat, Popeyes never comes up first, even though I thoroughly enjoy their food. In that moment that I was in the moment that I was in, I was tasting and it was pleasing. Oh. As I was seeing, it was okay. As I was hearing, it was completely negative. If you add an A, a D, and an F, you get like a D minus. So you're not at the top of the list. And this is what being in the moment is like. Here's what being in the moment is like. As a result of that, right? If you think about the best date that you ever had, right? Think about the best date that you ever had. And think about what made the date so good. If I asked you, I'd bet you dollars to donuts that you could describe what you saw. You could describe what you were feeling in the moment. You can describe how it felt. You could describe what it was that you did and how that made you feel, what you did, right? What you were touching. That was being in the moment. So it actually had very little to do with what you were doing, but how you were being in that moment. That's how you be in the moment. You sense it. You perceive, not project. Let me move. That was my spiritual lesson for today. And then water. Water supports, like the purpose of water really in your body is to regulate your temperature and to make it easier for the blood to flow through the blood vessels. So without water, you're not as efficient as you think that you are. You're a little uptight. Cynthia, what's happening? Johnny, what's happening? Love and life, what's happening? You're a little uptight without the water because water allows things to flow right through your body. So it's important that there is some give right in your game. There has to be some give in your game, but not so much give that that you don't care or that you forget about your responsibilities or that you forget about what it is that you're actually doing. Okay. What does it come down to? Well, it comes down to being intentional. We have to be intentional with the 5 H's. We have to be intentional with our heart, with our head, with our health, our healing, and the harvest. Put that in a point. I must be intentional with my heart, my head, my health, my healing, and my harvest. Let's talk about it. I have to be intentional with who I'm giving my heart to. I have to be intentional, and I'm not just talking romantically here. I'm also talking platonically. I have to be very careful with who I'm giving my heart to. I have a very, very slow vetting process. And in order to have like a piece of my heart, right? In order to take a piece, right? And I'm talking from personal experience, right? In order to take like a piece of my heart, it's like some people might sneak in. And I'm out there singing that Deborah Cox song. How did you get here? I'm singing that, right? Some people might sneak in, right? But if you have it, you have it. And there's for a reason. And I can always tell you why you have it. I can always tell you why you have it. Right? So if somebody is telling you, hey, I feel this way about you, then ask them why. Ask them why. And if they can't explain it, then it's cap. Point blank, period. It's either cap or they have no emotional intelligence, which eventually will turn into cap. Think about it. Right? I have to be very intentional because there's so much riding on where I put my heart. There's so much riding on where my passion goes. There's so much riding on where allowing myself to feel. There's so much riding on where I'm dividing my emotions. I have to be uber intentional because I don't play with my food. The next thing, I have to be very intentional. So I have to be very intentional where my thoughts go, right? Case in point, right? Like I feel like right here I'm on this live, and we've seen it several times, right? If my son calls for me, I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget this, right? Because this is for him, right? Like I'm building a brand for him. I'm coaching, showing him how to pour back into people, right? So when I allow people to occupy things other than things that support my vision, things that support or are not of my purpose. When I begin to give thought to things that are beneath me because I've played with my food. When the things that were supposed to build me up were supposed to go in here. I was supposed to absorb it, learn the lesson, make sure that there was fiber in my diet so that I can get rid of the waste. My point is if you're not careful with where your thoughts go, if you're not careful with who you allow to give a piece of your mind, if you're not careful with who you allow to live rent-free in your head, if you're not careful about the situations that you're not filtering out, if you're not careful about the advice that you take, every toxic statement begins with, if I was you, just hold that one for me. Okay, just put the brakes on right there. Please don't finish that statement, because you're not. Where are my thoughts? The next thing I have to be intentional about, my health. I have to be very intentional about my health. Now, I'm not talking about shape. I'm not talking about physique. I'm talking about A1C. I'm talking about diabetes. I'm talking about insulin levels. I'm talking about blood pressure. I'm talking about cholesterol level. I'm talking about stress level. I'm talking about mental health. I'm talking about emotional health. I have to be very intentional about what I am doing to this body. It's the only one I'm ever going to get. I have to be very intentional about where I'm allowing stress to impact. What do I do when I'm stressed? Some of us go to the gym. Some of us go to the grocery store, pint of Ben and Jerry's. Okay, cool, if that's your thing. Some of us get the most ridiculous sized bowl of Fruity Pebbles ever. Hi. Some of us do things, some of us clean. Some of us do destructive things like throw laptops, punch glass, hit the wall, And now we're walking around with a cast, and we're got early onset arthritis because we don't think past that point, because we don't have a balanced diet. And once we do, she says she cooks. Hey, let's go. We don't have that balanced diet because we have been living with people who don't teach us how to regulate at that level. Timon and Pumbaa could have never told Simba how to regulate emotions at a lion's level. Ever. They could have never told him because they don't know. They don't know what it feels like to be this size. They don't know what it feels like to have this level of responsibility. They don't know what it's like to have to choose between me going to bed hungry 3 nights in a row and cracking open a can of pinto beans for my children just so they have something on their stomach. They're not ready for this level of responsibility. So as a result of that, the people around me, if I say that nobody understands me, if I say that no one gets me, nobody is listening, nobody is doing this, that, and the third, the truth is they don't understand. They don't get it. But you at least want to hang around people that can absorb this type of responsibility, this type of weight, that can advise you at the level of responsibility in which they are. Make sure that you're equally yoked. The moral of the story. Make sure that the people around you have as much or more to lose than you do. The next thing, my healing. I have to be intentional about my healing. I don't want to hear what type of journey you're on if you're not doing the work. Don't tell me that you're on a self-discovery journey and you're not reading no books and you're not journaling. Don't tell me that you're on a healing journey and you don't have the guts yet to confront what it was that triggered you in the first place, or you have an unwillingness to deal with what triggered you in the first place. Don't tell me that you're on a journey to be the best version of yourself and you're still holding on to petty nonsense. Don't tell me that you're trying to be the best version of yourself and you find yourself still hanging out with the same toxic friends, still talking about the same toxic stuff, still at that dead end job, still with that no good man, still with that no good woman, still neglecting your children, still overworking, still overthinking, still overstressing. What are you doing? What are you doing? I have to be intentional about it. I have to be purposeful about it, because if I'm not, and I just say, Hakuna Matata, somebody else is running my kingdom. Somebody else is coming in, invading, and taking over the very thing that was promised to be mine. Somebody else is going to run with my purpose. Somebody else is going to beat me to the punch of my idea. Somebody else is going to write the book, because just because I'm not in line with my purpose, it doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't have a similar one and could be taking over your lane. I have to be intentional. And my harvest. I have to be intentional about my harvest. Right? And that's just the purpose. I have to be intentional. I have to wake up every day and take steps towards my goal. I have to wake up every day and take steps towards my purpose. I have to wake up every day and take steps towards the business, towards the happiness, towards the peace, towards setting the boundaries. I have to wake up every day and sow seeds into this harvest, because once it's time, it ain't going to happen. What do we do about it? What do we do about it? This is going to be quick. There's only 2 points. There's only 2 points right here. And here's how you stop playing with your food. Okay. You have to take a lion's mentality. When a lion focuses in on prey, the first thing that they do is they kill it quickly. Because I don't have time for the overthinking. I don't have time for the what ifs. I don't have time for the regrets. I don't have time. Whatever is causing me anxiety, whatever is causing me to play with my food, I have to find it, I have to kill it, and I have to do it quickly. Why? Because the longer that I don't block the number, the more of a temptation it becomes. The longer that I don't set the boundary, the worse about myself that I feel. The longer that I don't ask for the promotion is the more frustrated I feel at younger people coming in and telling me what to do now. The longer that I don't empower myself or find a resource to empower me, the longer I'm going to feel powerless. The longer I sit in depression, in anxiety, in overthinking. The longer that I sit in these situations, the more they become a part of my character and the more they become a part of my identity. So today, I'm going to stop playing with my food. I'm going to find what it is that I want to eat. I'm going to find it and I'm going to kill it and I'm going to do it quickly. The second thing, you have to forgive yourself. In order for Simba to walk in the fullness of being a king, in order for him to lead Pride Rock back to prosperity, in order for you to break the generational curse, in order for you to lead your children in the way that they should go, in order for you to set them up for success, you have to forgive yourself. Because this self-forgiveness is going to allow room for freedom. And this is going to allow you grace and empathy to make mistakes. This is going to allow you to do trial and error because you only have to be right once. And that's it. If you take nothing else from anything that I said today, take this. Stop playing with your food. In other words, you are the only person that can disqualify you from your purpose, from your peace, from your happiness, whatever it is that you're trying to get through. You're the only person that can stop you. You're the only person that can disqualify you. But we tend to get hurt and we hang out with other hurt people. We're living below our privilege. I need you to identify your Timon and your Pumbaa, the people encouraging you to forget your responsibilities and live below the throne. Cut them off or bring them up to the throne with you. Those are the two options. Either get with it or get lost. And forgive yourself for running. Right? We just finished the Fit to Fight series. Right? We're all fighters now. That is it. Questions, comments, or concerns later this week. If you missed any of the Fit to Fight series, those that caught it can tell you that it was a blessing. I have received some emails and some messages saying how it was a transformative